morning, and welcome to Morning Movie News, where the SAG nominations just blew my mind. I wasn't even going to cover them because the much bigger announcement for the Golden Globe nominations is tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'm coming into the office early and I'm going to do a whole video dedicated just to the Golden Globe nominations. And I hope they are as exciting as the SAG nominations. Because I'm glad that Morning Movie News filming it got delayed for the BFG teaser trailer, which dropped this morning, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to cover what has become, I think, the biggest story of the day. Well, at least for those of us who enjoy awards season, because this isn't a very fan-friendly lineup of nominations, but it's something I think that's going to delight cinephiles, and also it shows how the Oscar race is opening up to outside contenders, namely Netflix and Bleecker Street Films, who both got tremendous recognition for their films. And also, oddly, well, not oddly because it's a very good film, but who would have ever expected to have seen it here, Straight Outta Compton, which got nominated for Best Ensemble Cast, which is often a nod for Best Picture contender. So Straight Outta Compton could be looking at a Best Picture nomination. Now, why are the SAG nominations important at all, right? I mean, they air like on TBS and TNT, and all the actors go to the ceremony, etc. But the reason they're important in the larger scope is that the Screen Actors Guild, of course, is actors, and actors are the biggest, well, the Hollywood Foreign Press is going to do what the Hollywood Foreign Press is going to do. But when it comes to the Academy Awards, they're the biggest voting bloc. So not only is this probably going to be very close to what you see for the Oscar nominations for actor, but also they have tremendous pull in the Best Picture category because, again, they're the largest voting bloc. So unless like some amazing campaign stuff happens in the next couple of weeks before the Oscar ballots are due, you're probably looking at what's going to be the Oscar lineup to the most extent. So that's fascinating. So let's go through. They don't have as many categories, so we're just going to go through them casually here. Again, tomorrow for the Golden Globes, I'll have pictures and do the whole thing. All right, so anyway, Best Actor in a Leading Role. Bryan Cranston for Trumbo. I loved that movie, loved it. And I can see why actors in particular and just the industry would be so in love with that movie and so enamored with it. It's such a wonderful Hollywood story. Trumbo, you definitely should see it. Then Johnny Depp got a Whitey Bulger nomination for Black Mass. Surprising. He's very good in the role, but I think people weren't in love with the movie, so it's interesting to see him take a spot that I think other people would have liked to have seen perhaps Matt Damon in for The Martian. The Martian didn't get any love at all. Nor did Mad Max, but that's not really an actor's movie. I wouldn't expect to see it here. That's picture and director, I firmly believe. Leonardo DiCaprio for The Revenant. Woohoo, he's on his way. For those of you who are rooting for him, I don't see a win. And this is kind of a little bit of a wide open category, so he might win. Michael Fassbender for Steve Jobs. He's very good in that movie. He's the best thing in the movie, and that's a little bit of he really kind of needs that considering how he torpedoed the box office for the film. And then Eddie Redmayne for The Danish Girl. Everybody knew that was going to happen. That movie's lost a lot of steam, so I don't particularly see him winning there. I actually think that Bryan Cranston can maybe take this. He's so good. That would be just so wonderful. I think DiCaprio's biggest competitor in this category. It's also exciting to see Bryan Cranston competing for movie awards, and we all know how he dominated the television awards. All right, so anyway, actress in a leading role. Cate Blanchett for Carol. Everybody knew that was going to happen. Brie Larson for Room. She will likely win this award. Helen Mirren for The Woman in Gold. That's crazy. That was an okay movie. It was like a TV movie. I saw it. I liked it. It was playing in a nice theater, which was, I think, as big an impetus for me to go as it was. I believe it came out. I think I went for Father's Day actually with my dad, and with my parents. But anyway, that's a Weinstein movie, and that just shows the power of Harvey Weinstein that he was able to get a nomination for Helen Mirren. Saoirse Ronan for Brooklyn. I think a lot of people will be very happy about that. I have not yet seen Brooklyn. It looks like I'm going to have to fix that because it has a lot of traction. And then this is a shocker: Sarah Silverman for I Smile Back. Sarah Silverman, that's amazing. That's from Broad Green Pictures, no less. So I'm really impressed with these smaller distributors' ability to get their movies on the board. Let's see how they do with the bigger awards ceremonies. Then for actor in a supporting role, Christian Bale for The Big Short. That's very impressive for Adam McKay. Idris Elba for Beasts of No Nation. I'm sure people are very excited about that. Mark Rylance for Bridge of Spies. He is in The Big Friendly Giant. He's the Big Friendly Giant, so this is very exciting for him. Then get this, Michael Shannon for 99 Homes. Nobody saw 99 Homes. I guess the screeners did well. So that's amazing. And then also, this is a big one, Jacob Tremblay for Room. That's the young actor who plays Brie Larson's son, and he probably took Abraham Otta's spot. Also, they probably didn't want to nominate two actors from the same. Well, Abraham Otta really should be considered a lead, in my opinion, and I think many people's opinion, but often children go into the supporting category. So Jacob Tremblay might end up getting all the attention this award season as a child actor instead of Abraham Otta. And then Idris Elba will take the lead with Beasts, which I don't really know if that's fair in terms of talent, but we'll see. Then for Best Female Supporting Actor, we have Rooney Mara for Carol. Also, everybody knew that. Rachel McAdams for Spotlight. Very interesting to see none of the male actors nominated for Spotlight, particularly Mark Ruffalo. I thought his performance was excellent, and Stanley Tucci. They were my favorite in that movie. But Rachel McAdams, the female category is always so weak that, you have these weird nominations. And I think that Rachel McAdams really didn't have anything to do in Spotlight. She was just Rachel McAdams. So I think that's weird. But they got a Best Picture equivalent, so don't worry too much about that. Then Helen Mirren, double nominee, also for Trumbo. That's amazing. She's very good in Trumbo. She's better in Trumbo than she is in Woman in Gold. But again, she's just being Helen Mirren. I wasn't like, wow, I'm blown away by your performance. That was more like, I can't believe Hedda Hopper was such a jerk. Then Alicia Vikander for The Danish Girl. She'll probably win this category. I think that she has such strong traction. They often are very diplomatic with these awards. And they're like, this category goes to this movie, this category goes to this one. And I think The Danish Girl is going to end up taking Best Supporting. And then Kate Winslet for Steve Jobs, which I find very odd. She was okay. Her accent was all over the place. Also, by the way, No Joy, none of the big contenders I think that some people were thinking of. Hateful Eight, nowhere to be seen. So not a big studio picture situation. This is really quite the coup by Netflix, though. Because speaking of Netflix, now this is the Best Picture category for SAG. It's Best Ensemble Cast. Beasts of No Nation, they do mention Abraham Otta there, so that's wonderful. That's shocking. Only 3 actors here. Abraham Otta, the second in command, Kurt Egiawan, that's great for his career, and then Idris Elba, so that's really good. Then The Big Short, that's huge. That's a really big deal for that movie, that it would get the Best Picture equivalent. That's a very, Brad Pitt, very strong awards background with 12 Years a Slave, everything that he's done there. I think so. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised once I see it, I guess you could say. Then Spotlight. I think a lot of people expected that, so Spotlight is a competitor. I don't think it's good. It's not as exciting a winner as some of these other ones. But anyway, then Straight Outta Compton. That's amazing. If Straight Outta Compton gets a Best Picture nomination in the other bigger award ceremonies, that is going to be a surprise, I think, thing that really makes fans excited. So and how nice is that, by the way, for O'Shea Jackson Jr.? I don't believe that Ice Cube was ever nominated for anything like this, so how nice. And also, the whole cast was very good. Jason Mitchell is Eazy-E, so good. And then Trumbo. Trumbo is the final nominee for Best Picture. I think that is just absolutely amazing and worthy. I'm so happy to see Trumbo get that recognition and for Bleecker Street to be able to deliver. Bleecker Street had a very good year. Pawn Sacrifice isn't anyone here, but that's also an excellent film from Bleecker Street, so I'm very, very happy for them. All right, so let's go on to the other movie news stories of the day. Yes, other things happened. Now, I think a lot more people are interested in this story, actually, and that's the announcement that was made at a corporate event that the Hunger Games is going to go in the direction of prequels, most likely, for the continuation of the franchise. And that was, I don't know if that's really for sure, but that's what they're saying now, because it hasn't been confirmed by the company. But basically, they've looked at their numbers, and they've decided that the key missing ingredient in Mockingjay Part 1 and 2 was arena games. They're like, people like the arena, they like, the whole spectacle that the Capitol provided. What does that say about the world, right? That the Capitol was right? People like the Hunger Games. And so they're probably going to go for prequels going forward because then they can have more Hunger Games. Now, a lot of you have said you want to see Haymitch's games, double the combatants. He had a lot of personal drama during that situation. Maybe you could have Woody Harrelson there for maybe the whole thing is told through flashback. I don't know. But I think that that's a pretty good idea, and if that's the direction they're going in, I think that I would do Haymitch's Hunger Games. Also, it would be interesting to see a male lead with the franchise and what that would potentially, if that would help it or hurt it or just keep it level. So I'm curious, it's not a confirmed story. It's just, an interesting situation. It's also interesting to see Lionsgate's takeaway from the whole box office situation. And I think to some degree they might be right, because I think that Mockingjay Part 1 and 2 became very political, political thrillers. And there's obviously not as much money in political thrillers. All right, the first two had very strong political aspects, but it wasn't center stage. All right, so the third story of the day, somebody sent me this news story, which I thought was great. Quentin Tarantino obviously doing a lot of press for The Hateful Eight, and he was talking about, someone asked him about Kill Bill, and he says he does have plans for a Volume 3, and I liked the setup quite a bit. So the quote from him is, he says, "I put the character Beatrix Kiddo through a lot," Uma Thurman's character, "and so I wanted her to have this much time for peace. I wanted her to have some time with her daughter and not have to be in the genre machine and get to enjoy her life, get the happy ending right off into the sunset that she certainly earned in the two films." But then he said it would be interesting to show her as an older character, obviously, as time has passed, and that child that you see in the kitchen fight scene, Vivica A. Fox's daughter, and I've included a link below in the video description to that exchange, when Uma Thurman, after killing Vivica A. Fox and this child walking in and seeing it, and she says, "Your mother had it coming, I'm sorry, but when you get older and you still are upset about it, you come find me, and I'll be waiting for you." So that would be very interesting. Not only that it is brilliantly, actually organically plays into the other two films, Volume 1 and 2, but also what a wonderful role for a young black actress. People often talk about the fact that the category, I think Asian actors would disagree with this, but I guess they're tied. But black actresses don't have nearly the opportunities that black actors do, particularly darker-skinned actresses. That's a big debate, light skin versus dark skin. That's one of the reasons I think people have been so happy with Michelle Obama, because she provides a really great role model that's viewed so well, and she has darker skin. I guess Ava DuVernay to some degree, but Hollywood often casts very light-skinned actresses when they go for a black female role. But for Quentin Tarantino to write that kind of role for somebody would be exciting indeed. That would be very exciting. And it would be very nice to see him branch out, to move beyond Uma Thurman, who, of course, he's done quite a lot for. I really actually, just the other day, I was talking about Joy yesterday and female actresses and director relationships, and I mentioned Grace Kelly, but you guys are really good at pointing out ones I missed, like Melissa McCarthy and Paul Feig, and then also Uma Thurman and Quentin Tarantino. But anyway, also, Uma Thurman's career, kind of in the toilet in terms of box office numbers, but she was never really a big box office star for the most part, and I think it's like a little bit like Samuel L. Jackson, who I think tarnishes his image by taking a lot of paycheck gigs, but with Tarantino, they're like Tarantino royalty. So I think the people would definitely turn up for this, especially because it would have a very, an ensemble cast, because they have to fight people, right? So I think this would be quite good. I loved Kill Bill Volume 1. It's just an amazing movie. I think 2 totally fell apart, and it had that horrible Superman speech, which I do not agree with. But I would definitely return for a third installment. And also, he said, I've seen some other people comment on this in response to this story about how wonderful it would be to have an older actress in an action movie. But don't forget, Michelle Yeoh is currently starring in the trailer for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon 2, and she's an older actress. So I think it's wonderful, and I think, it's nice to have more than one movie doing it. All right, so let's get to another video viewer question, and this is from BTT Regular. Again, still taking written questions, but I will admit video ones get a slight priority because they're burning a hole in my desktop, I guess you could say. I was going to say pocket, but I think it's fun to have the visual addition. So Marcus, this is BTT Regular again. Marcus Loera, take it away.
Okay, so my video viewer question is, do you think we're reaching oversaturation, Grace? We've talked about this in the past. I've asked the question in the past, but I've never gotten an answer. Starting next year, we will potentially have about 15 comic book shows on the air, provided Supergirl and a couple other shows can make it through the current television season, and about 5 to 6 comic book movies. And I'm just wondering, is the bubble about to burst? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Thanks, Grace.
Great question. I think that I've seen a number of people bring this up, and I don't know if it's, I wonder what will come first, superhero fatigue or just like a superhero, talk about Civil War, I'm seeing tremendous tension and anger in the comment sections between DC and Marvel fans. So that's interesting. I'm wondering if that will bleed out into the casual moviegoer, and if they're even aware of that, and if they're not like here on the internet. If you're not on the internet, so you might not be aware of it, but it's becoming quite contentious. But as far as burning out goes, I don't know. I think the appetite for this seems to be insatiable right now. So I think that, we might be approaching, oversaturation, but right now, the roller coaster is still starting to go, still going up that first incline, and it's all very exciting. I think that the real thing that's going to help this have longevity is understanding that not everything is going to be an Avengers or a Dark Knight, that you're going to have to start having comic book films at different levels, and budgets need to be done accordingly. I mean, if Hollywood loses too much money, it might not even be the audience that turns Hollywood off to comic book properties. It might be the revenue loss, right? Hollywood might be like, I'm sick of taking a bath with comic book fans. But that wouldn't happen if they were a little bit more responsible with some of their budgeting. So I think for a movie like Deadpool, for instance, I'm very curious to see what the expectations are with different ratings. I'm very curious to see how Deadpool hits. And just also how they play with the genre. I think that Captain America Winter Soldier was great because it mixed in a political thriller with a comic book movie. And I think Doctor Strange might mix a horror movie in with a comic book movie. It's things like that which will extend the longevity of the show. I mean, it has to keep morphing, not only to meet with fans' current appetites and likes, but to surprise fans, surprise audiences, make it seem fresh. You constantly have to reinvent yourself. Just like Madonna, I guess the comic book shows like movies, TV, everything has to do the same. So I actually don't see an oversaturation point coming. I hope from the audience's perspective, I hope that Hollywood is being smart about what they're going to do. Also, I think video game movies, which we had thought was going to maybe, push out comic books. I'm curious to see what actually happens after the, lukewarm response to the Warcraft trailer. I think some Warcraft fans are very excited about it, and there are quite a number of those. But I think your average moviegoer wasn't like, oh, but maybe actually, I showed it to some like non-gamers, non-comic book people, and they did like it actually, but they don't keep talking about it. They're not like, when's that Warcraft movie coming out? So we'll see. It's a little bit of ways off in their defense. So I don't think we're at a saturation point quite yet, and I don't see it on the horizon actually, but it might happen very quickly. I mean, there's so much invested in this, and these projects, we're so far in advance, and we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. But I'm curious, what are your thoughts on an oversaturation point? Maybe you've already reached it. Write your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for your question, Marcus. And again, if you have a video question, you can you make a YouTube video. Keep it under 30 seconds, please. Tweet it to me, or you can put it in the comment section down below. You can make it unlisted if you want, so nobody else sees it, unless they click on it, obviously. But I will consider it for morning movie news. And of course, always the old-fashioned way. You can write a question down below or tweet that to me as well. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.